Beat London 103.6 FM.
This is the mid-morning show with AhhVeeDaa.
Like I said, this is the Xtra Yxng Radio Show with me, AhhVeeDaa, on the Beat London 103.6 FM. Good morning, good evening, wherever you're listening in from. I go by the name of AhhVeeDaa. That's AhhVeeDaa. Yeah, you know it's me. In the studio with me this morning, I have a very special guest, though. Very, very special guest, though. She's a politician, a female, younger politician, goes by the name of Tele Lawal. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did. Hi.
Good morning.
I think that was the best introduction I've ever had.
Oh, I can do intros.
Okay, go on.
I can do intros. I got your whole bio on my phone, so I can do. I can do intros. Tell the listeners a bit about yourself.
Oh wow. Okay.
For those that never come across you, like who?
Okay. I mean, not a lot of people would have. I'm not anybody special.
Listen, you was running in the general elections, 2019.
Yeah. Good time.
So a lot of people would have got a chance to know who.
Yeah, in my area, a few people. So yeah, my name's Tele Lawal. Mm-hmm. I'm a female politician. I was elected at the age of 22. Mm-hmm. So that was in 2018. My term is till 2022. Mm-hmm. I'm a Labour councillor on the London Borough of Havering. I was the first ever black female to be elected. I'm currently the youngest councillor, so I'm aged 24 now. I used to be in PR, then I switched from PR to go into politics as my day job, so not just as an elected position. So I used to work in Parliament for MPs, so helping them with their casework and advising. And now I'm an engagement manager for a youth charity called My Life My Say. I absolutely love it. I'm on police advisory boards, so Stop and Search Monitoring Group, Independent Advisory Group. I sit on the Children and Learning Committee for the Council, Crime and Disorder Committee, and I've just founded something called Havering Racism in my borough after George Floyd's death, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. But yeah, I founded that, so it's a safe place for residents to talk about their experiences with racism, whether they're residents, visitors or employees, and then we're going to use those stories to hopefully make my council adopt 10 demands. So I don't think we should just share our stories and not ask for anything. So I'm asking for great equality with Havering Racism. So yeah, that's kind of what I do in a nutshell.
We will touch on Havering Racism.
Yes.
Towards the end of the chat. Why are you so busy?
Oh my god, do you know what it is? It's so funny because when I was like young, I just said to myself, like, I used to have really bad anxiety, and I said, I cannot be broke. I cannot be broke. I cannot do nothing in this world. So for me, I would actually get very anxious of just like failing. So literally for me, I just said, okay, whenever I achieve something or do something, I'm like, what's next? What's next? And that's just my mentality. And like, I know sometimes I sit down and I'm like, why are you doing all these things? And I feel like sometimes when I was younger, I was like, didn't really need to do that. Did I needed to do that? But everything I think has led in nicely to something else. So like, I set up a diversity network at Metro Bank. I don't know why I did it. I had never had any expertise of doing that. I mean, going into a national bank and saying, do you know what, you need a diversity network that obviously celebrates, I don't like using the term, but BAME people. I set that up within 3 months. At the end of when I left Metro Bank, I was kind of like, oh my god, I'm leaving it behind, but it was my legacy. But I was kind of like, why did I do that? Did I really need to do that? What has that now? What's that going to help me in the future? But now I'm realising everything that I learned by doing that has helped me with Havering Racism. So yeah, I just feel like for me, it's like, I don't want to fail. I don't want to be broke. I want to help people. I just can't have nothing. I can't leave this world knowing that I didn't do anything. I want to be able to wake up every morning and feel like, yeah, I'm making a difference, wherever it's my workplace or my community or in politics, whatever it is. I want to just feel like I'm doing something. I don't just want to feel like I'm just a number, a statistic, another person in our, like, part of our population. I need to be more than that. So yeah, that's just why I do so much. Yeah. Because
you're an elected official, you actually do sit in meetings, right, that are very, how can I say, decision-making, life-changing for people all around the country, especially in your area as well. So you are in an interesting position where you can kind of create policies or suggest differences in policies that are currently, happening right now. Do you feel that is enough to actually change what's going on?
No. So someone says it's just politics you need, and I'm like, no, that you need more than that. We politicians, yes, we make the decisions in our borough, but we have advisors. So I need to make sure that there are great council officers there, and even if you're in Parliament, it'll be people in civil service who have that knowledge and expertise, who sometimes actually come up with these policies and recommendations. So it's them that we need as well. So I need those great people behind me as a politician, but also I need the community. I need the community to tell me what's going on wrong? What can we do better? So how can I represent them? So it's a combination of things. You need charities, you need social enterprises. So I don't think it's just policymakers that are the only thing that will bring about change in our communities. So for me, it's a combination of things. I can never just sit there and read a report and say, okay, the council officer have said that's what we need in our borough, and take that at face value, and not go and do other research. I'll speak to other people in my network, or speak to my residents, or speak to, you know, faith leaders, whoever it is, go to a charity organisation. So it's a combination of things. I don't think you can change anything fundamentally with just a decision maker, that figurehead, whoever it is, whether it's the leader, the prime minister, or if it's just me, a normal, you know, backbench opposition politician.
We will get into the government. No, we're gonna get into them, because you saw my timeline. Right?
I've seen your timeline.
And you know you kind of see whose side I'm kind of on. Like I'm with the Piers Morgans and the George Galloway sides of things right now.
Yeah.
Even though I don't really bring it onto this platform and talk about it, I do try to like make my views quite clear.
That's good.
Especially at Matt Hancock. Like, I'm not gonna that guy. Right, we're gonna get into that. We will get into that. You're talking about people coming together, the community coming together and actually voicing their opinion. So Black Lives Matter has been a big movement that's been happening all across the world. It's at a point now where we can say statues of people who have been celebrated for their contributions to slavery effectively are being pulled down all around the world. Here in the UK, there's a way of doing that, to actually get a statue removed. Some people decided to go and remove a statue in Brighton on their own accord, and some people are actually putting petitions through for statues to come down. What's your views on that?
So when I saw obviously the statue going to the water, very comical it was indeed. I think that was a strong message. I think the message is what we really needed to listen to, and not the actions of those who did it. Do I agree with the way they did it? No, I personally wouldn't have done it that way. I disagree with the message, which was we can't be celebrating those type of people. That's what I think was lost because of the actions of how it was done. But people got to understand, prior to that, there were petitions. People had written to their MPs and the decision makers to tell them to remove it, and no one was listening. So for me, what I feel fundamentally needs to be done with people like that who we're celebrating in history is how many people actually knew the history of those people. So I would rather, you can keep the statues personally. I understand it's painful for some people to continuously see that. It's like a memory that you don't really want to see. But for me, I'd rather we educate not even just our young people, but generally our communities by telling them these are these people, they were slave owners, they were slave trainers, this is what they did, this is what they, and that to me is important. We're hiding our untold history, and I don't think you can just rub out that part of history in our communities. So for me, I was quite shocked when I found out some of the information. I was thinking, oh wow, is that really who that person is? And that was, to me, that I felt power knowing that, and I wanted to go and read more and find out more about my history. And I digged out things about my local area. I'm elected an award where the street name is named by a slave trader and slave owner, and I never knew that before I got elected, and I've lived in my area my whole life, born and raised. So for me, I think you can choose how you want to, but I would rather go down the route of petitioning. I would go down the route of educating people on our history. I wouldn't take a bold move of, removing a statue like that and throwing it into the water. That's just personally me. I'm not going to condemn their actions. That's what they choose to do. But I feel that another way of doing it is, petitioning per se and sharing the history. I think the more people you get with you on an issue, the more people, the decisions makers will listen. Okay. So the reason why Sadiq Khan was obviously removing the statues in London was because you've had an outrage from people who have now found out the history of a lot of these people and have called for them to be removed. Prior to that, there was probably small groups who were like, we know this history, we don't like it, and have probably written to Sadiq Khan, and they're probably sitting in their rooms going, we've been telling you for years and years, and now you're listening to us. So that's why I say there's so much power in mass voices. So that's what I would always recommend to people. If you want fundamental change, bring people together and demand that change.
You was also, like me, earlier this month at a Black Lives Matter protest in London.
Oh, yes, indeed.
What was your views? What was your...
Beautiful experience. I've gone to many marches.
What day did you go?
I went, oh my God, it was the day I got called on this show.
It was a Saturday.
It wasn't the week when obviously the far right or whoever they were went to protest.
And what's your view on that as well?
Don't worry, we're going to get to that one. When did I go? So it was a week before them.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was so it wasn't the Wednesday, it was the Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful atmosphere to see so many people of different race, religions, sexes, culture, tradition just coming together and fighting for justice, fighting for our rights, which I don't think we should be fighting for because are our fundamental basic rights, fighting for just, you know, that our lives matter. Just, it was beautiful to see it. Did I see violence? No, that's not what I saw when I was there. And I was there for a good 4 hours. I didn't see violence. Did violence happen? Well, yes, that's what's been published on social media in the press. But did I see it?
The police officer fell off the horse.
That was on the yes, I believe that was the day of the horses, and I saw the horses, and I was a bit confused as to why the horses were there. But I mean, if that's the strategy of the Met for protests of that size, then so be it. Like I said, I used to work in Parliament, and I have seen protests. There used to be protests. Obviously, there's like the climate emergency, climate change protests. I never saw horses there, so it was quite interesting to me to see horses at that protest. Like I said, I literally worked in Parliament, Westminster, so I was there every day on my lunch break. There'll be some sort of protest, and I would not see horses, so I was a bit confused. But anyway, we'll leave that. That's another discussion. It was a beautiful atmosphere. It was a positive message. It was chants of, like, say his name, I can't breathe, Black Lives Matter. That's what I was hearing. All the other things that were going on, I didn't see it. I'm not going to say there wasn't any violence there or there wasn't any vandalism there, but there was hundreds and thousands of people, so I can't, where the space that I was in, everything was perfect and fine, and, you know, social distancing measures people were adhering to them personally. I know not in all of the videos, I'm not naive, and I know there was all the videos, there was obviously people not, but where we were, there was definitely the distance. People were wearing their masks as well. Yeah, I think it was just a beautiful message, and I loved the protest. Like, I'll do it again, fighting for my rights amongst like-minded people. Why not? That
weekend sparked a reaction from what many journalists and commentators said it was the far right. Till now, I'm not sure who came out the weekend after in order to protect the statues. Effectively, what people were saying as well, what they were doing. What's your views on that?
Okay.
Or them even?
So,
are they racist?
No, you can't call everybody racist. Now, this is I think we got to be careful who we call racist, who we don't call racist.
Okay.
So, if someone says, I'm going to go out to protect my war memorials, statues and so forth, okay, that's fair enough. Like, you have a right to do that. That's great. You want to do that, okay. But what then happened was we saw on that day they wasn't doing that. The very police that were there to protect those statues and war memorials and keep peace, they were fighting them. And we then saw one of the attendees urinate next to the police officer who died in Westminster Bridge protecting many of us from the terrorist attack. So for me, it's like, how can you say that's what you're fundamentally coming to do, and then you have one of your attendees urinating next to a memorial?
Right.
That's disrespect at its absolute highest. So we saw something very different there, and I'm so happy that a lot of the protests were cancelled, because it then ended up, the public saw this is what is in our... This is what you've fundamentally, we're trying to say, basically. Yes. Can you see it right here? And you had people on video who were very much saying, we're only here to, protect the war memorials. And fair enough, I saw that. But there were clips of people calling people the N-word. There were clips of people saying, their lives don't matter. There were clips of people saying racist things. So you can't deny that some people who attended it were there for other reasons.
And making racist gestures.
Thank you, the Nazi signs that we saw.
And the monkey signs. I don't even saw that one.
Yeah, no, I saw the monkey charts. I saw it all on social media that day. I was like, wow, you've taken it off and really shown yourselves. So yeah, you really did see some people, I put the word some people there were there for another whole different agenda. And I just feel it's kind of funny how Tommy Robinson came out with, trying to rattle and get everyone all hyped up, and then all of a sudden he didn't attend. So it's just a bit like, I don't know, really, I can't see someone who is spearheading a movement and then all of a sudden saying, I'm not going to attend because it's been twisted into something different. Stay in your truth, lead if you want to lead, but then don't backtrack. So yeah, my whole thing was for that is I have no problem if you want to protect your war memorials, go ahead. But for me, it is your message was skewed because of the actions that were shown on that day, and those spoke a lot to the to the British people. It spoke a lot to all of us. Can I call them racist? No. I think we need to be careful about who we call racist. Sometimes there's ignorance, and not everyone is racist.
Sometimes there's ignorant and not everyone is racist.
Yes.
I feel like that's my next Instagram caption.
No, but it is, because I think, some people say to me, maybe because where I schooled in Essex. I live in Havering, predominantly Caucasian area. So maybe for me, my tolerance level or my understanding of certain things may be different. So, for example, when I went to uni, I'll go back to living in Havering, Essex, but when I went to uni, I went to Nottingham Trent, and I remember one of my housemates, she lived in some village somewhere, so there was very hardly, I don't think she had said to me, I haven't actually seen like a black person, and she was thinking all these things she was saying to me, but it wasn't because she was racist, it was because she was just uneducated. It was the ignorance. She was a lovely girl, but the things she was saying was like, oh, my mum went to London and like a lot of the hotel staff were black, so is that predominantly what, like, is your mum working in a hotel? Like, she said things like this, and I'm like, no, hun. So you got to sit down and explain some things to people. And she's like, I'm not trying to be offensive. And I'm like, I know you're not trying to be offensive, but do you see how it could be offensive to someone? Because it's like me sitting here going, oh, is your mum this and that? Because I see it on the internet that predominantly white people are in these spaces. So I was like, do you not see how that could come across? She's like, yeah, she understands. So it's about educating. She's not a racist person. She's just an ignorant, person who needs to have the information. So yeah, I just feel like, for me, growing up in Havering, Essex, I've had to manoeuvre and sometimes not always take things in a bad way. For example, if someone says you speak so eloquently, I'm not going to take that as that person saying, oh, it's because you're black, and usually black people don't know how to speak properly. They're like, oh, this and that. Or maybe I can just take it as maybe that person just sees a young person who can speak so eloquently.
Right.
And so you got, sometimes I think, yes, we do have that. Okay, we get sometimes what people say, microaggressions, etc., but sometimes it's not always that. Just because a white person may say something, it might not always be that. So yeah, for me, I've kind of had to maneuver myself and not always just be like, you're racist, especially when you're in politics as well, where politics is free for all. Some people can say as they please and it's freedom of speech. I've had to be kind of like, okay, a little bit more tolerant than I say most people are.
Right.
And I'm not trying to say you're wrong for calling certain people racist. That's your opinion, view. I can never argue. But for me, I will come out and say, I don't think they're racist, especially if I know them. But I don't think they're racist. I think it's more ignorance, and I need to educate you and make you understand. Like, some people are coming out going, I don't understand why Little Britain, in my area, they're like, I don't get why Little Britain's being removed and White Chicks isn't. I was like, God. That's the whole quote. I had to send some people articles in my area. I'm allowed to be like, look, this is why.
Yeah.
But it's not. But like, I get it when you look at, if you haven't watched White Chicks and if you just see the two images, you would not, and you don't know the history of blackface, you would look at those two and be like, so yeah, why? That's what I mean. Some people, there's just ignorance, and we need to teach you. So sending them an article explaining the history of blackface, explaining why White Chicks is not the same, you can't compare the two, they understand, instead of getting angry and going, you're racist. That doesn't help anyone. So yeah, my area, I think I've just had a little bit more tolerance because of the things I've dealt with, and had to learn that not everyone is racist.
Okay, staying on this ignorance versus racist, I want to throw some names at you.
Yeah.
And I want you to, you don't need to explain yourself, but I just want you to give me the answer, ignorant or racist, right? Okay.
I'm scared now.
Don't be scared. Well, just be brave. Just be brave and call it the way it is, right? The Conservative leader, Boris Johnson.
Oh, gosh. Racist. Oh.
Okay, Dominic Raab.
Ignorant. I think I know what people are going to say in terms of Dominic Raab, because I think I saw recently what he said about the kneeling down.
Yeah.
Is that his comment? Yeah. Ignorance.
Katie Hopkins.
Oh Lord. She's in a whole league. We need a whole different word for her. She's just in a whole league of herself. Incites hate. She's just in a whole league of herself. She's not even racist or ignorant. She's just in a whole league of herself. I don't even know what league she's in.
Last but definitely not least, I'm trying to think of one more name. I'm trying to think of one more name. No more names. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think those ones are the strong.
That's the strong ones.
Yeah. I think they're strong ones.
Can't think of anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, I think the general public have gone out and said a few of those people are racist or ignorant. Do I know them personally? No. But do I feel like some of the things they have said is especially when you're a public figure, you're not Kate Hopkins. We shouldn't give her a platform. But when you see leaders who are leading our country making very fundamental decisions, coming out with certain statements in their past, you know, about black people and the LGBTQ community and just so many things. This is mainly towards Boris. You then think, wow, this is then someone who's going to be putting exactly is the figurehead, is the leader of the, is the prime minister.
I got one more. Donald Trump.
Oh Lord, Donald Trump. We all know Donald Trump. Do you know what? One thing about Donald Trump is, that's why when people like compare Katie Hopkins and Donald Trump, I'm like, no. Katie Hopkins is someone who says things and is doing it because she wants to stay relevant. And I generally don't think she actually believes a lot of the things she's saying. I think she's just trying a lot of clickbait stuff, trying to get you to come on her platform. She's trying to be someone. Like, I think that's generally why she's doing that. She's trying to be controversial because we know that being controversial sells. So I think that's why she does that. I don't generally think she believes half the things she tweets. Trump, he really, really is running with those opinions. He does not care. He's not apologetic. That's my views. Right. And I think what one's more dangerous, I know obviously Trump is such in a powerful position. Obviously, he's the president. Mm-hmm. But Katie Hopkins, that's very, very dangerous. Someone who is then not apologetic, then someone who then says, oh, no, that's not what I actually meant. And that's very scary that you would do that. You would incite, you would stir up so much problems and hate just to be relevant. That is something that's very, very scary to me. Very scary. So yeah, I just think someone who would do that just to make money, that's the worst kind for me.
Really we can talk all day.
Lord, all of us could talk all day about some of the tweets that she's put out.
Finally, Havering Racism.
My baby.
Talk to me about that.
So, I've been in politics elected for 2 years, and as soon as I got into politics, obviously being the first ever black female elected, you kind of have this it's like as if you, without even asking, you must lead your black community. Do you know what I mean? You are the figurehead in your black community without even asking. People can't. I'll tell you, what do you think black people think about this? Oh, I'm not the only black person.
Really?
Yeah, really. Like, tell you, what do you think? Like, black people would like, you know, or I'm like, what should we do? Should we do? And I'm I'll give you a good example. When I first got elected into the council, they said to me, would you want to be the champion for equality and diversity? I'm thinking, y'all don't know me from nowhere, but yet you want to appoint me for this role. Why? Obviously I know why, because I'm a black female. Obviously it looks good, optics, but that's the kind of the things. But what you can do with that is you can see it as, okay, should I play the good black token girl that they want me to play and use it to my advantage, or should I be angry and be like, no, I'm not doing that role, no, I'm not doing that? And I would rather go the other way and get into those positions, and I'm going to be real and raw, because I'm going to do it properly, because what they expect you is to go into those positions and be very much, you know, quiet and not say anything and be quite grateful that you're there. Or you can be the person to be like, okay, grateful I'm there, now I'm going to really cause some problems. I'm really going to bring out the information and share the ideas that I think will fundamentally be changed. I'm not coming here just to do it for, you know, to be on my CV or be on my political career. So that's how I take it. I'm not going to be angry. I know what they're doing. I know why they've put me there, but I'm going to come in and surprise them and show them that, you know, you can't just put me in a space because I'm that black girl. So yeah, there's been loads of times, and I've had loads of things, but I think the one thing that really kicked it off for me was kind of the complaints. So fundamentally, we know that a lot of, obviously, I hate the word BAME people, I'll say black, Asian.
Why do you hate the word BAME? Black and ethnic minorities.
Yeah, black, Asian, minority ethnics.
Yeah,
the reason I don't like it is because for me it's kind of like, you can't group us all together. You can't group us all together, because when I get reports and I see, you know, it is 9% BAME people who are stopped and searched, right? But when you then drill down those stats, you will see that then it's predominantly black people that are stopped and searched, for example. So that's why I'm like, there's things that make us different. Our cultures, our tradition, our religion, etc. Just, yes, we're all my ethnic minorities, but you can't group us together because we have different experiences, etc., and that need to be looked at and changed and challenged differently. One approach might not work for a black family, it might work for an Asian family. So for me, that's why I'm like, I'm happy to have the reports, but then I want to drill it down further, and then I want to know what solution works for all of these people based on their culture, their race, or their traditions or religion. And I think that's important. But I think BAME has just grouped us all together, and then we think the solution will fit us all when it doesn't. So that's my issues with BAME. And I think we're getting lost. Like, certain communities are getting lost, putting us all under one umbrella, and that's unfortunately we can't keep going on like that. Like some of my friends who are Turkish will be like, but we're always forgotten. And that's strong. There is, you know, when some people think of Asian, like, you know, you wouldn't really think of anybody else. You just be like, oh yeah, Asian people, oh, well, Indian people, and that's the problem. There's so many different people. When you think of black, people just be like, oh yeah, black people. No, but there's Africans, there's Caribbeans, there's so many of us. So it's just very frustrating because we all have different experiences, and I just think they're lost under that term. But I'll use it for this reference. So I started to realise kind of the issues in my local authority. When I sit on the crime and disorder committee. I'm really passionate about community safety and crime and policing, etc. And I'm at meetings, I'm putting up my hand and I'm being missed. So you fully see my hand is up and I'm being missed. And it's my other colleagues that are like, Councillor Lawal wants to speak. My statements are cut short. They're not writing down my recommendations. I dealt with this for probably near enough to a year. It was a member of the public, and one thing I don't like to do is complain. I keep getting up. You can knock me down, I keep getting up. I don't like to complain. I'm not a complainer. I've dealt with racism. I've dealt with all of these things for a very long time. So for me, I don't need to complain anymore because I know what it is. I just got to keep fighting. So I didn't make a complaint. It was a member of the public that made a complaint on my behalf to say she is being treated unfairly, treated unfairly compared to other people in that room. Now that is basically a statement of discrimination, right? For you to treat someone differently, why are you treating them differently from everyone else in that room? And we look at the differences. I'm the only black female in that room, and I'm the youngest. So it could either be ageism or racism. Or sexism. But well, I think there is women in our room. So, and the chair is not a man; it's just a woman. So don't know. But anyway, so the complaint came in, and the woman messaged me a few weeks later and was like, I wrote a complaint in about what I experienced, like what I saw happening to you, and nothing happened. So I thought, wait, hold up. Someone's complained on my behalf and nothing's happened. I said, wow. So I then wrote in, and they was like, we don't see what the issue is here. I had to write 15 pages. So we've got a constitution. I wrote 15 pages of every constitutional break and when it happened, and then wrote a conclusion to say, this is why I feel like I'm being discriminated because of my age and my race. Now, the problem with that is that I had to write a dissertation. I had to write 15 pages before you looked into someone treating me unfairly. And I'm not even the one who actually brought the first complaint. It was a white woman, a member of the public, who wrote the first complaint. And now I'm coming to say, well, you haven't even investigated. She made fair points. She's complaining. Like, I actually, what did you do? And you're then saying you didn't really see any issue. Then I then have to write 15 pages. That to me is absolutely absurd. And that's when I then say you've got institutional racism. And then what then kind of was the one that just blew off to Havering Racism, sorry, I know I'm getting a long time to get there, was I was assaulted in the town hall. So there was a council meeting and one of the politicians grabbed my arm and pulled me back. So this is common assault. Told the police. There was obviously different stories. No CCTV.
Wait. Explain that. Just pulled you back out of what? Just why? So to get in front of you to what to chirps? Like what's like?
Chirps? No.
What was it?
It's funny I'm laughing now. I wasn't laughing back then. I felt so powerless back then. Gosh. So there was an announcement. So we had been fighting for development not to happen in a certain part of our area, right? And finally the leader of the council had announced it. He had announced that the development was going to be stopped, that obviously strategically there's other regeneration projects happening, so we don't need to develop on that beautiful green space in our area. Hooray, right? And I don't care what party you are. If you do something like that, I'm going to thank you. That's how I've been brought up in my culture. Someone does something for you, go up and say thank you. So it was our tea break. We all love our tea breaks as politicians. And I walked up to the leader of the council and I went to say thank you for what he had done for my residents. The other politician had come forward and said, you haven't done anything on this. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Now, I don't need to tell you what I have and have not done to help my residents in my community, people who voted for me, because God sees my work. So at the end of the day, I don't need to blow my trumpet because I'm going to be rewarded regardless. So for me, I'm like, I don't really need to be arguing with you and telling you what I've done. So I now turn to walk away and he grabs my back, grabs my arm, and pulls me back. And I'm like, do not touch me. I walk away, and then instead of you to stop there, you then follow me and you're then shouting in my face and people are looking. I'm like, wow, really? And then I'm like, I'm going to make a complaint, and you're like, go on then. So I did make a complaint, but because I've already had the experiences, I knew how the complaint would not be taken seriously or dealt with. And it's proven to me that it hasn't been, because it's now nearly a year and still that incident hasn't been dealt with.
Yeah.
Now, my issue is people say, do you think it's a race issue? And I'm like, well, fundamentally, why did I have to write 15 pages to get my first complaint sorted? Why is it now that after a year I was grabbed in the town hall, someone grabbed my arm, I've put forward a complaint, I went to the police, but yet you haven't concluded on the complaint? So then it shows me that my life doesn't matter, because if that to me personally was a white blonde female who was a politician and was grabbed by a black politician, a man, would the community, would the local authority and would the press had acted the same way if that they did with me? So that's when I then said it clearly is institutional racism, that your policies, your systems or something is not fit for purpose. So yeah, that is what kind of led to me writing out and calling my local authority institutionally racist. Some people might not like the way I did it, but I would never, I've been a politician now for 2 years, like elected into public office for 2 years. I could have come out and said that 2 years ago. I have done everything possible, wrote the reports, had the meetings, stuck with and done everything. So I haven't just come out without trying everything. So now I'm confident to say that they are institutionally racist because I've experienced it and other people have told me their experiences. And that's why Havering Racism was formed, because I wrote a letter to the press. I had clear demands because I think we can't just talk about the issues, share our experiences, but we don't come with no solution. So I had 7 demands, but Havering Racism has 10 demands, which are very reasonable demands, like setting up an equality newsletter to go out to your residents. That is not something that's difficult when in coronavirus you've been able to set up a whole website, you know, a whole information. So this is what you choose to do. Yeah. So I have 10 demands with Havering Racism, and we're using people's stories because you can't argue with people's experiences and stories. Some people will. I'd say you have some issues if you're doing that. So you can't argue with people's stories. So, and brave residents are coming forward and sharing their stories, and we're using that every single time they share their story. We're atting the London Borough of Havering to be like, this is what's happening in your community. You're still going to deny that there's racism happening? And already they've launched inquiry into race relations and in the council and the borough. That's huge. That was within a week. They had done a U-turn. If you can see the video on my socials whereby they sent a letter to me saying, we're not going to respond to your threats. Threats for equality, right? Wow. And now they're calling. Now they've called an inquiry. That just shows to me the power. After calling them threats, that just shows the power of people's stories and people coming together, and it not just being one voice saying that you're institutionally racist or saying that there's problems, but the community saying this is our experiences. You can't ignore that. There's a lot of voices right now. Yeah, there is indeed. There's a lot of voices, all kind of on the same side. But I want to ask you a question and to kind of end it off on a bigger question. Is the system fit for purpose? Which systems? Which system? No. Do you know what? There are or does it need a big upgrade? It needs a big upgrade. Do you know when people were protesting regarding the Met and they were like, we want police brutality to stop? What does that mean? You need to look at their legislation. You need to look at their powers. So reasonable force. What what does that mean? What does that actually mean for a police officer to use reasonable force, or their procedures? So you need to fundamentally look at the procedures and the policies within the Met, or the powers they have in legislation that allows them to use that force. And then there needs to be either tightening or removal. So for me, it's like a lot of things, legislation that has been put in years and years and years ago, before many of us were born in this room, now have a detrimental effect to ethnic minorities. For example, there's a policy in my borough where for you to get on the council housing list, you have to have lived in the borough for 6 years. Now, Havering predominantly was, and it still is, predominantly the mass of residents are Caucasian. I think it's around 80-something%. People who are now naturally moving into our borough are Black, Asian and other minority ethnics. So for a lot of them who may need social housing, they won't be able because they haven't lived in the borough for 6 years. Now, whoever put that policy in, did they think that was what was going to happen? No. But now someone raised that to me, a woman actually raised it, was like, I generally need housing. Unless I am homeless, will I be able to receive support from the council. But I'm generally struggling. But I can't apply for housing in the borough yet because I haven't lived in the borough for 6 years. She was like, if you look at the projection of people who are projected to move in the borough, they are predominantly from BAME backgrounds.
Right.
So the next 30 years, Havering's going to have a mass increase of people from BAME backgrounds. A lot of them are not going to be able to receive the support they need because of that one policy. Now, the person who thought of that wasn't there thinking, that's a great policy that's going to affect Black and Asian people, so yeah, let's put it in. So sometimes there are policies put in place that unknowingly discriminate against our communities. And that's why I'm like, we need to tell the decision makers these are the policies which unknowingly are affecting us, and we now need to change them or tighten them up. And I don't think that's what we're calling for. So that's why I always say to people, don't just go out there and say we want to end racism, but you're never really going to end racism. But what can you do in all these systems, so whether it's education, whether it's crime, whether it's health, whether it's the environment, whether it's housing, what are those legislations or these policies that are in schools or, you know, the hospital, etc., that you still feel affect people like yourself?
Right.
And then what do you want to change them, or, you know, tighten up the words? Sometimes it's just a bit of words that need to be tightened, that make such a difference. And that's what we need to be doing. And that's why I keep calling on people to share your stories. That's great. Go out, protest, do your online, post whatever you want. But
send your letters.
But
send your emails.
Send all those things.
Call him if you need to.
Literally text a friend, say I'm angry today. But actually...
I get lots of those.
Literally. But actually come up with policy changes, and that's where you should center your campaigns around. So this is the policy that I want changed, and then that's how you bring everything together to campaign for that policy change.
What's coming up next? 2020.
Oh,
2020 is a mad year.
2020 is finished.
It's a mad year. We're only halfway through it right now. Literally.
Are we halfway?
Yeah, June. June. What are we now? June 20th.
I can't believe we're June already. This 2020 to me has been painful. What's coming up for me, or what's coming up in general? Well, we're apparently coming out of lockdown soon.
I feel like we are.
We are.
This week, the government did announce, I think it was on Friday, it did announce that we've gone from category 4 on our 1 to 5 rating of coronavirus alert to number 3 now.
Yeah.
So
I think, but essentially it's supposed to be around August, but no one knows. And I think one of the things that everyone kept saying is, oh, the protests are going to lead to a spike in COVID-19. We're all going to be back in lockdown thanks to you lot. That's a whole debate for itself. But yeah, so hopefully by August, lockdown measures would have, you know, relaxed. Still things will be in place. So I think that's obviously what a lot of us are thinking of. What is it going to look like after August? What really, Black Lives Matter and the movement there, the conversation has been had, and I think it has really, really fundamentally brought around a different tone. And I think people are wanting to do some sort of change, but there needs to be guidance. So I think seeing how that plays out will be nice. What really else? Brexit might come back up on the agenda. I don't want to talk about that. Brexit might come back at the agenda. But yeah, I think that's really what we've got to look. I think how the economy is going to look. Yeah. Basically, that's the big thing for all of us. Towards the end of the year, what's the economy really going to look like? And I think next year is when we're really going to see the effects more. Are you
taking things like week by week, day by day, month by month?
I think you have to. No one can plan long term.
Yeah.
No one can plan long term. I don't think anybody can plan long term. No one can plan long term. Of course, you can put things in place, but you don't know what's going to happen in September.
People had weddings planned,
everything, university, all sorts of things, new jobs. I had to put my new job on hold. I was supposed to start, and I was like, oh my gosh, can't start. So like, there's so much. Our whole elections have been postponed. The mayoral election next year. So like, so much has really, really changed. So I think this year is, no one can really predict it. You can't say, it's going to be fine. We could have another spike. You never know. So yeah, but I think it's what our economy is going to look like. How is this conversation around racial inequality going to be really played out? Are we really going to see that systematic change that we need to? And yeah, kind of post-coronavirus, I guess. So that's really what I think
post-Brexit.
On. And Brexit as well. Like, Brexit might pop up a bit more.
What a
2020.
I know. Where can people catch you if for someone who is inspired or just wants to kind of pre you?
Me, troll me.
Have a quick pre. Where can the people then go?
So you can follow me on Twitter. It's my name, TELE. So that's Tele, like the TV. 1 L. Some people spell it with double. I don't know why. And then my surname Lawal, LAWAL. And then on Instagram, Tel. So TEL.X. And then as well, Facebook. It's just my name. I'll try to keep it simple. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for this time. I
thoroughly enjoyed it.
I did as well.
We can talk more off air.
Don't worry.
If you want to stick around, you can stick around.
Okay, when the shops and everything open up, though, we can really go for like.
Oh, you want drinks?
Yeah, I want drinks.
Okay, we could do
on
drinks.
your dime.
Oh wow. Listen,
politicians don't get paid.
I forget. I actually.
We don't get paid.
We can do that.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Okay, good.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
That was Tele Lawal, politician. Boom.
Yeah.
Can I call it councillor?
Yeah, you
councilwoman?
People call me councillor.
Councillor.
But I don't like being called councillor.
Why?
Just like it's too formal for me. I'm a normal person that just likes to happen to share her opinions and think of good ideas, in my opinion.
And then write dissertations too.
And write dissertations. I'm good with my words. My mum says, you're lucky I sent you to uni. You see? Uni was good. I'm like, oh, no.
Big shout out to mums.
Mumsy, yeah. I put on my Facebook, I'm going to shout her out. I don't think she's listening, but Mum, hi.
She'll watch it.
I'm famous. I've made it.
Give Telly her tics, okay?
Oh, please.
On Instagram.
But then the trolls shouldn't come with them. I don't need you. I don't need the trolls. Thanks.
Yeah, you can block the trolls. You know the block button's real.
I know, it's too much effort though.
I got you. Don't worry. I got you. Thank you, Telly.
Thank you so much.